It was always a dream of mine ever since I was 10 years old to turn on an LED with a computer of some sort. Well, I finally achieved it and more. Thanks, Niket, for the introduction just before. This is the story in the next 20 minutes of my attempt of turning on an LED with Mule on a Raspberry Pi using Twitter, as you can see here. Just before I start, a bit of background about myself. I have been in the integration space for over 10 years, and recently I've been focusing on blockchain integration. I'm also a software trainer in the Atlassian product suite, Jira and Confluence, if you've heard of those.
Yeah.
And I share what I learn about Bitcoin, blockchains, and smart contracts on a blog called talkcrypto.org. I'm also the co-organizer of the Wellington Blockchain Meetup, and feel free to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn as well. Last year, I was quite involved in the MuleSoft community at that time, and I managed to rack up enough points, believe it or not, to grab one of these quadcopters with HD cameras. So just a bit of history between myself and Mule as well. So how did it all begin? Well, a couple of years ago, I managed to get my hands on a Raspberry Pi, one of these things here. A Raspberry Pi is a credit card sized device, which is actually quite powerful considering what it does and the actual physical size of it. You see, I'd always been fascinated with connecting a device such as this to, say, a motor or a relay switch, and then having a piece of software that would then basically convert it to ones and zeros, right? Binary, convert it to electrical signals, and then control a motor or a relay switch. So I thought, why not give it a go? Why not try to turn on an LED with my Raspberry Pi first of all? Going through this now, it actually seems really, really simple, but at the time it felt impossible. I went through the process and I wrote about it on my blog. You can see down here, how to turn on an LED with a Raspberry Pi. So the first step I did was I grabbed an LED, I grabbed a resistor, some wires, some connectors, and I started soldering. That was the easy part. The next part is I jumped online and I grabbed the pin configuration of the Raspberry Pi. You can see down here, I had to find which was the 5-volt pin and which was the ground pin, of which there were several options to choose from. Next, I connected it all up. You can see my handy soldering lobs of solder there. I hate soldering, I'm not really good at it. I don't know if you guys have ever done it before, but it's pretty tricky. The third step was to actually find the commands to actually turn it on. That was the trickiest part, but a bit of searching and it actually turned out quite easy. You can see up there, all I had to do was go to a couple of folder structures such as sys, class, GPIO. I then had to echo out a value of 1 to turn it on and 0 to turn it off. And when I tried it and it actually worked, I almost fell off my chair because I achieved my childhood dream. I then started getting funky. So what I did is down here I put it all onto one line and then I put it into a file called turnon.sh, basically a script file, so that I could turn it all on with one command. What next? Well, last year, in about September, I was working with a company who were evaluating Mule ESB as part of their software stack. So I got heavily involved in Mule ESB at that time. And then I came across this tweet by a fellow called Keaton Victor. And he tweeted, "Mule eats Raspberry Pi. Beautiful." It was a bit cryptic. I mean, there's a bit of Java code you can see up here, but it gave me an idea. Why not try my own version of Mule eating a Raspberry Pi and get Mule ESB running on this small device? So what I did is I did a quick search and I came across this article here by Ross Mason back in 2013. And there was a picture of a Raspberry Pi and he talked about a product called Anypoint Edge. I did a bit more searching. I couldn't find any information about Anypoint Edge. If anyone knows about it, I'd love to know more. So what I did instead was download Mule ESB. Step one was obviously to download Mule itself. That was easy. Step 2, I had to unzip the file and load it onto the Pi device. Now step number 3 was the tricky part, because I needed to download a Java service wrapper to actually get Mule ESB to communicate with the Raspberry Pi itself. So that took a bit of searching, a bit of trial and error to get it working. After that, I started it up, the typical ./bin.mule, and believe it or not, I got the word deployed here, so I was over the moon again. It worked. It sounds quite simple when I explain it now, but that process took about 1 to 1.5 weeks of evenings and nights and weekends, trial and error, so it was a lot of hard work, and there wasn't a tutorial before this showing you how to do it, right? So that's why I blogged about it. So with those 2 projects, I thought, what next? And then I had a light bulb moment, or should I say an LED moment, where I tried to get funky yet again. Why not get Mule to turn on the LED? Because really the LED is symbolic of, again, a relay switch, because you can use it to turn on anything you want, really. I did some more searching, and again I came across an article written by Ryan Carter, and he wrote about polling and watermarking in Mule. Polling is where you go out to a resource every 60 seconds to grab information, and watermarking is where you tag it, so next time you poll, you don't grab the same information again. So this article was, again, more inspiration, and more so because within there was an example with Twitter and some code as well. So I thought, wow, if there's some code there on Twitter already, let's try it out, let's use it. So this is the actual flow that I ended up creating, and just to walk through it, you can see at the beginning I use a poll activity where I go out to Twitter, grab the tweets, I go ahead and log what's called a max ID for reference. I then go ahead and grab all the tweets, place it into an array. I then use a for loop to go through each element of the array and grab the individual tweets out. I then log out their tweets themselves, and then I use a choice router here, and I scan the body for hashtag on or hashtag off, basically some text. Whatever I find, I'll then route to the appropriate Groovy activity, which allows me then to execute a script. And that script was ./turn on or turn off. At the end, I then log the output out. I wrap the whole thing into an exception strategy, just to catch any errors, and I gave it a go. Here we go. So you can see on my cell phone here, I'm tweeting to myself at Cloud and Things. You'll see a hashtag ON for on. I'll then send the tweet to the sent.
We're seeing the polling on the screen.
Yeah, the polling up top, I've set the polling frequency to every 2 seconds just for demo purposes. So it's gone out. Mule's polling my Twitter account every 2 seconds, and then you should see it turn on pretty shortly. There we go. So it turns on, and then I go ahead and send another tweet with hashtag turn off. And then you'll see the reverse occur. So it's not instant, it's not like real time or like within a couple of seconds, because it does have to go through all the various systems in Twitter, it's got a poll, etc. So again, it seems quite simple when I explain it, but that took a lot of work as well. It wasn't straightforward because I came up with a lot of issues.
What were some of the issues you had?
The watermarking didn't quite work. The payload since ID that you saw, that I grabbed the example from, it didn't work for some reason, and I couldn't figure out why. In the end, what worked for me was using payload.maxid. The other couple of points that I would make was trying to grab the information out. Payload.tweets, the first element in the array, etc. I mean, it sounds really simple now when I say that this is how you do it, but when you don't know what to do and there's nowhere to look, it is it dot open square bracket or open square bracket and then a dot, etc. So the other issue I had was the search string. I tried using a regular expression to grab out hashtag on, but regular expression does my mind, and I learn
Everyone's.
yeah, I learn it, I know it, and then I'll forget it like 2 weeks later, and I won't touch it again. What worked was the contains keyword, contains hashtag on. That worked. I was happy, so I left it at that. What next? So recently I've been.
Can we do something before we continue?
Sure. But recently I've been looking at Docker. Does anyone here use Docker or familiar? Yeah, it's very popular nowadays, right? The containerization of an application. So I haven't got around to it yet, but I'm just trying to master Docker. But what would be neat is to containerize this application so that you can lift and shift it and share it around up in either GitHub or Docker Hub as well.
You mean the whole Raspberry Pi?
I wish I could. One of the tricky parts with Docker is that there's not many images in the ARM repository, so to speak. So the ability to containerize it and share it with someone else would be quite useful as well. Nice. The other thought that I had was I used to run the blockchain on a Raspberry Pi device as well.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's not that hard, it's just really slow, right?
No ATMs.
Because it only has about, the B model has 512 megs, and the new one that's come out, and it's actually really nice, because it's about the same price, about $60, but it's got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well, so you don't have to buy extra dongles, which I've got. I've got a million dongles. So the idea there was to use Mule to integrate to the blockchain and to grab information from it, because the blockchain's got an API. Right? So again, lots of things on the project pipeline for weekends and stuff, but just trying to find time for it is an issue. So in the summary, you can see that I didn't just come up with the idea to do all of this in one go. It was a step-by-step process where initially I wanted to turn on an LED with a Pi, and then I decided, why not try Mule on a Raspberry Pi? Because we're talking about Internet of Things, right? IoT devices. And then I thought, well, let's combine them together, and then let's send the information over the internet with, why not use Twitter? It could have been anything, really. So, and then obviously, containerization for ease of deployment in the future would be a further step as well. So that's my story of turning on an LED on a Raspberry Pi with Mule via Twitter.